Welcome back everybody to another video on First Feudal. And in this video we're going to be doing a beginner's guide on the game. So I've already done a review on the game and I've been playing a series that I upload every Monday. I'll link to that playlist in the top right hand corner right now. And so I decided to make a beginner's guide. It can be a little bit difficult to get into the game when you first buy it. It's a bit overwhelming with the UI and different menus and all that stuff. So with that being said, we can go ahead and start. When you first launch the game, you're presented with a main menu. When you press new game, you have all these options to do various things depending on which side you push the slider to. But to start off, we're gonna name our dynasty. Now this is the name of your dynasty. This would be basically is the name of your save. So I'm just gonna name it test for now. Now we're gonna go down these sliders all individually. I'm gonna explain what they do, what they're for, and some of these are basically self-explanatory, but I'm gonna explain all of them just in case. And I'll also leave all these descriptions in the description below just in case you ever need a reference in the future. So starting off with the first option here, delay of first attack. This determines how long it'll take for you to encounter the first attack from a hostile caravan. You push it to the left, it'll put the delay up, meaning it'll take longer for the first attack to happen. If you push it to the right, the first attack will happen much sooner. And keep in mind, depending on which side you push it to, what settings you put, it changes the overall difficulty. So I push it to the left, which is upping the delay of the first attack. It makes the game easier since you don't have to worry about being attacked so early on in the game. Push it to the right, it makes it more difficult since the first attack will most likely happen in the first day or night. Most of these sliders affect the difficulty, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So moving on to the next slider, enemies evolution rate. So this slider determines how fast the enemies become more powerful, meaning the more powerful they are, they come with better weapons, better armor, and more numbers. For example, early on, they'll come only one or two will attack you and low armor, weak weapons, but the more you play, the longer you play, they get better armor, better weapons, and more of them come at one time. So this is what that slider does. Moving on to the next one, frequency of attacks. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it just determines how fast or how often you get attacked. Now moving on to the next one, hunger rate. So this determines how fast your hunger, or as it's called in the game, fullness. This determines how fast that depletes. So now moving on to the next one, peasant arrival rate. So this one determines how quickly peasants will arrive to your village. So next slider we have here is quantity of supplies. Basically, this one determines how much loot you get from mining at a mine or cutting down a tree. Putting it high means you'll get much more resources from cutting down a tree or mining at a mine, and putting it low means you get less resources. I think this also applies to farms. I'm not exactly sure. That's what that one does. And then food spoilage rate is the next one. This one determines how fast food spoils. It's very self-explanatory. Next one is farm respawn rate. This one determines how fast crops grow in your farm. It can be very low, meaning they won't grow as fast, or very high, meaning they'll grow much quicker. Now moving on to the next slider, livestock respawn rate. This one determines how often livestock respawns. So I think this slider applies to both wild animals and animals you've tamed. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what that does. So next one we have here is amount of forest. Now amount of forest just determines how many trees there are in the area. The higher it is, the more trees there are in the area. The lower, the fewer. Pretty self-explanatory there. Moving on to the next one, amount of mountains. This one doesn't change difficulty. These two sliders right here just basically affect the geography of your map. It basically changes how your map is, how it looks, and all that stuff. But I will say amount of mountains does affect your gameplay just a bit, because you need mountains to mine and all that stuff. So amount of mountains determines how big and how common mountains are in your area, and then amount of water, the same thing. It determines how often, how common, and how big sources of water are on your map. So for now, I'll leave those all default to overall difficulty of 100%, which is default. But you can have up to 0%, up to 200% difficulty, and that all depends on how you do these sliders, and it's very customizable. That's one thing I do like about this game. Very customizable, a lot of options. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and start a new game. So once you start a new game, it will show you a quick start guide. Since I've been playing it for a while now, it doesn't show me anymore. But if I press H, this is what you'll see when you first start up the game. It'll show you everything you need to know to start playing the game. So keep that in mind. So when we first start out, what you want to do is zoom out as far as possible. You can press tab to lock your character in place. So when you have this mouse cursor on, that means your character is locked in place and you can move the camera around. When you have the crosshair, that means you're controlling your character. So what we're gonna do first is press tab to lock our character in place, and we're just gonna basically pan around the map just scout out the area and plan out the area that we want to settle in. Now, the best area to settle in my opinion, is an area with a lot of green fields like this one right here. I try to avoid dead areas as much as possible, and these patchy areas, since they're not good for farming or keeping animals. Also, a side note, avoid building near the edge of the world, since you cannot build about 8 blocks from the edge of the world. There's another thing to keep in mind when picking an area to build in. So just for now, just for this episode, I will just build somewhere here, and then we're gonna press tab again to gain control of our character, and we're gonna run to the sensor or the gathering place. So once you pick an area, you press B, click on the gathering place, and you place it somewhere central where there's a mountain nearby, lots of green fields, and a water source. So I picked here. This is all mainly central. So after you selected a place to build, 2 peasants will come with a cart, some resources in them, which will last you about for a day. So you'll need to pick up food production and tool production pretty quickly. But for now, we need to command them to tell them what to do, what job to take, and all that stuff. So what you want to do is take your cursor, hover over the person or the chest that you want to access, and press E. And once you press E, you'll be presented with this menu. This will give you 3 tabs. The first tab is equipment. Equipment basically shows you the current items they have equipped, what effects they currently have, and what traits they have. You can also see their stats right here and their profession. You can see their bars, health, stamina, and fullness bars. The next tab is exchange. This is where you can trade with them. This is your inventory and this is their inventory. Next tab is customize. Here you'll be able to pick their profession, and you have these 3 options down here. So these tabs give you a brief explanation of what each one does. So well, I don't need to explain these. You can just basically hover over them and it'll explain it to you automatically. So that's another good feature that this game has, and also does that for the professions. If you hover over them, it'll show you what each one is and all that good stuff. So moving on to the various menus. If you press I, you can access your inventory. It'll show you your current items in both hands and your armor, plus your inventory slots. It'll show you your effects, traits, stats, and other miscellaneous stats down here. If you press B, this will be your building menu with various tabs. F is your farming menu. N is your science, research, and upgrade menu. This is where you unlock items to build, craft, and various upgrades. Pressing V is your population menu. Resource menu, this is where you can see all your resources. Etiquettes, basically you can change various things, from when you want to accept new peasants, or when you want the peasants to sleep, depending on how low their stamina is, and various things like that. These all have pop-up windows that give a brief explanation of what they are, so I won't go into that in this video. Now going into the bars down here. The first one is health, the second one is stamina, and the last one is fullness. Health always regenerates automatically no matter what, but there is some food items that will help you regenerate it quicker. Next is stamina. Stamina will go down gradually over time. It'll go down faster depending on whatever you're doing. If you're running, it'll go down much faster. If you're working or attacking something, it'll go down faster. Also, crafting wastes stamina, so that's another thing that will use up your stamina. Now, stamina is regen by sleeping in a bed, and certain consumables help you regen stamina as well. Next bar is fullness. Fullness is your hunger bar. You can regen them by eating consumables and things like that. So that's basically the bars and what they are and how you regen certain things. So now that we know all about that, we can start setting these peasants to work. So what I like to do when I start out a new save is send 2 to be woodcutters, and I put call to arms to always on all peasants early game, and the last guy will be the builder. And what I also like to do is press I to open my inventory, take out my club and my axe, and put it into the cart over here, just so the peasants can use it for themselves, since I won't be using it myself. So now let's get into the building and the essentials. Starting off, let's press B to open our building menu. We'll be presented with the basic tab. We have production tab, which is basically all of our workbenches. Defense, which is several different defense options, traps, and all that. Decor will be decoration items, house walls, house floors, flower pots, and things like that. But for now, let's focus on the basic stuff. The basic tab will give you options to build wooden chests, different types of beds, and different types of quarries, which is where you mine and get resources like stone, copper, and things like that. So what you want to do is, for early game, build only about 3 beds. that will accommodate for your population, since I only have 4 right now. And production, we want to build a carpenter's workbench, a tools workbench, a kitchen, and a weapons workbench. Now I'll build everything around the central square, since the square gives off extra decoration points, which helps in keeping the peasants happy. Now you see this little fire down here. I forgot to mention this earlier. This is your quest menu, so you press J, go up in the quest menu, and right now we've completed this one. So a red flame means completed, a green flame means new. So once we completed one, we'll get a red flame completed, so we get a copper sword as a reward. We also did this one already, so now we get 10 hide and 5 wool, which is exactly enough to build 1 bed. So what I want to do is press E on this cart and place all these items in there so the builder can pick it up and go ahead and build a bed. Now another thing you can do for building, so you can press B on an item that's being built, and down here you'll see different options. You can see which priority it is and the name of the item. So if you want to up the priority, meaning that the builder will prioritize building that item only if he has the resources, you can press X to raise it or Z to lower it in priority. So this guy just came, so I'll put always on to call to arms and set him to warrior/hunter. He will hunt animals, and so the warrior hunter will hunt animals. He'll bring back raw meat, animal hide, and wool if he kills rams and sheep, things like that. So now that we talked about the beds, now let's get into the workbenches. So again, hover your mouse over the workbench and click E. This will show you the workbench menu. On the right side here, you'll see all the current recipes you have unlocked. On the left side will be the queue for the items to be crafted. So to start crafting items, what you want to do is click on any workbench, click on any recipe that you want to build. For example, if I want to build planks, I press on the planks, and it'll be placed in the first slot of the queue. So let's start off with this small menu that's on the side right here. So the first item is craft X amount. So for example, if I have 23, and I press craft X amount, this will put it to where the artisan, which is the person that uses this workbench, will only craft 23, and that's it. Now if you press the craft until X command, this will make it to where the artisan will craft until they have 23 in storage. So again, craft X command means they'll only craft 23 and that's it. Craft until X command will make it to where they'll keep crafting that item until they have this set amount in storage. So we can set it up to 1,000 and as low as 0. So if you have multiple items, you can click these arrows to change them in queue. For early game, I want to set these to a low amount. 25 is my golden number. I do that way because if I have this to 1,000, I'll never have enough resources to build wooden sticks, which I need for building other workbenches and other items. So you want to limit how much you make, especially early game where resources are very limited. So now let's talk about workbenches and which workbenches require which profession from a peasant. So if I go back to my building menu and go to production tab, if you hover over the workbench, it'll show you which profession is required. So for a tools workbench, a weaponsmith is required to produce tools. A kitchen workbench it requires a artisan to produce foods and seeds. And the carpenter's workbench requires an artisan. So you're ever unsure of what an item does or what it requires, you can just hover over it, and usually it always has a pop-up box that explains it and what resources are required to build it and all that stuff. So that's pretty much it. One last note, if you press K, it's a building encyclopedia, and it gives you a very good description of various things in the game. That's another good feature in this game. So while in the game, you press K, you can open this quick guide type menu where it explains various things in the game. So if it needs extra help, that's another good feature that's in the game. So hopefully this guide was able to help you. If you like this type of content, let me know in the comments below or by leaving a like on this video. And I'll also leave a link to the playlist of my first Feudal 100 Days series challenge. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.